Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. And I know there's a number of longtime Tesla supporters in the crowd, so thanks for your faith from the beginning. From Roadster, Model S, and everything. And so I'm just going to tell you about what our plans are in Hong Kong, and yeah, we got big plans. So. As I think you may know, the goal of Tesla is to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport. So to do whatever we can to have a sustainable future happen sooner rather than later. We started off with the Roadster back in 2008. It's a low volume, obviously high price. Now we're with the Model S and X, which are mid-price, mid-volume. And then in about 2 years, we expect to have the Model 3, which is a lower price, higher volume car. So the overarching goal, though, is just to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport, and to help other companies do that as well, which is why we open sourced our patents last year. Model S, we tried very hard to make an electric car be the best car. We felt it was really important because previously people had the idea of an electric car as being like a golf cart, like something that was slow and ugly and low range. We had to show that an electric car could actually be the best car. It could be fast, it could be have great handling, look good, have long range. This was very important to break the mold, to get rid of the idea that an electric car is not a good car. And the results were, I think, quite good. 98% of owners would buy the Model S again. We won Car of the Year, and the Consumer Report said it was the best car that they've ever tested. So, I assume you guys have that firsthand. So we start off with safety and achieving 5 stars across the board. The Model S still has the highest safety rating of any car ever tested. So it's doing well on that front. We have a longer crumple zone than any car, in any gasoline car, because there's no engine in the front. Very rigid cabin and a low center of gravity because of the battery pack being in the floor pan. And then it's also all-wheel drive. It can make it to 100 kilometers in under 3 seconds, and has a range of almost 500 kilometers. So these were all really important characteristics to achieve in an electric car, to show that an electric car could be a real substitute for a gasoline car. And then with over-the-air updates, the car keeps improving over time. So instead of buying a car and having the software be static and unchanging, this would actually improve over time. And then with Autopilot, which I know you don't actually have it, so I'm meeting with the government tomorrow, hopefully. Well, we're going to have some conversations, and hopefully they will consider allowing us to release Autopilot in Hong Kong. So anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic that it'll be good meetings tomorrow. Anyway, this is going to keep getting better over time with the software updates, and we'll take it as far as the sensor suite will allow. So I think which is actually pretty far, and that's combining the camera, the radar, the sonar, and GPS. And it's worth maybe just showing like some of the key statistics. In 2004, Tesla was just 5 people, and now we're almost 15,000. And 5 years ago, we were making about 600 cars a year, and now it's 50,000 cars a year. So it's good progress, I think. And I'm proud of the fact that we've saved over 150 million liters of gasoline. So it's yeah. So in terms of where we are in Greater China, we have 15 stores in 7 major cities, several hundred superchargers, and even more destination charges, and we're opening up in Macau towards the end of this year. I actually think Hong Kong will probably be the leading city in the world for electric cars. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's going to be really a leading light because I think it'll actually have more EVs per capita than any other city, which means we'll pioneer figuring out how to do charging, how to handle the large number of electric cars on the grid, all of these issues, which will then be a good example for the rest of the world.
I think Hong Kong is the perfect city for electric vehicles. It's that sense of movement, that sense of dynamism.
The Hong Kong people, they want to go everywhere fast.
Tesla's really taking off.
It just makes sense.
The number of Teslas on the street I've seen are just, double, triple.
Now you see easily a dozen Teslas on the roads every single day. When I test drove it, I just couldn't stop thinking about the car afterwards. It's a combination of the practicality of it, the performance, all the cutting-edge technology inside the vehicle.
We've got a 5-person family. Every day I feel comfortable with them strapped in the back of that car. It's one of the safest cars on the road today, if not the safest.
I decided to buy a Tesla 2 seconds after test drive. The moment you put your foot on the pedal, it has the performance of a very good sports car. I drive it everywhere.
Tesla has installed superchargers in all the most convenient locations so people can charge while they're out shopping.
I love it when you have this Tesla only sign. You don't have to worry about running out of battery.
Hong Kong, there's no reason it cannot convert 100% to electric transportation.
We do want to reduce the carbon footprint, especially here in Hong Kong.
We need to preserve the air quality.
And really where electric cars and Tesla can help is with that roadside pollution.
Driving a Tesla, it's entirely quiet and there are just no emissions.
It's so smooth, it's so quiet.
You're almost in your own little bubble when you're inside the car, amidst all of this noise around you.
Thanks to the customers that were part of the video. Anyway, so we have a very exciting 2016 coming up. In the second half of the year, we've got Model X that'll be coming to Hong Kong. We've got a huge new service center that we're building, so that should help reduce some of the service time challenges. And then we're also expanding the charge network substantially. But it's always important to remember that this is just the beginning. There's over 90 million new cars and trucks produced every year, and less than 0.2% are electric vehicles. So there's still a huge way to go to transition the world to sustainable energy. So I think that's something worth bearing in mind. It's really just the very beginning. So, but we do expect that Hong Kong will be the leader of any city in the world for sustainable transport. All right, that concludes the introductory remarks. I'm going to answer a few questions, and then I'm going to hand it over to John McNeil to answer the rest. So maybe just, a few questions at random.
Hello?
Sorry, is there a mic there?
I've got one here.
Yeah.
Here, Elon.
Hi, this is Raymond. We know that Tesla is a huge success in Hong Kong. But however, most of our car owners cannot install their own chargers, and we don't have a very good public charging infrastructure. The pace of the supercharging network expansion cannot keep up with the growth of the new deliveries. This, we can see that soon will become an obstacle for Tesla growth in Hong Kong. So how do you think you can overcome this challenge? Thank you.
Sure. That's a great point. So in my meetings tomorrow with the government, we're actually going to be discussing this exact subject. We want to try to upgrade some of the public charging stations to higher power and make them available to other car companies as well. But we really want to work with the government and offer our technology for upgrading the public charging spots. Because my understanding is that there's maybe as many as 800 or even 1,000 public charging spots, but they're low power. So we've got to, I think the right solution is to upgrade them to higher power, and also to have the regulations, the building regulations, ideally require that if somebody requests charging in their building, that there's an obligation to provide it. Because in the long run, the best way to charge your car is to charge it the same place you charge your phone. If you have to go to a third location, that's generally undesirable. Most convenient is where your phone is charged, that's where your car should be charged. Except for long distance driving, of course. But that's the basic idea. So regulatory changes, and then providing whatever technology and support that we can from a Tesla standpoint to the government to upgrade the public charging stations.
I think over here. Hi Elon, my name's Mark Johnson. I'm a Roadster and Model S owner. Firstly, before my question, I'd just like to say in the last 5 years, we've had George come, we've had Jerome come, but today is really special. Thank you so much for making this trip.
Well, thank you for supporting Tesla.
So, as well as the Roadster and Model S, I've got a Model X on reservation. So, of course, the question is, what is the plan for right-hand drive Model X's, and when are we going to see them?
Well, the plan is for right-hand drive X's is we should be starting production of those around the middle of this year. So hopefully this summer is when we should be delivering the right-hand drive X's.
Hello?
Sorry, it's always hard to tell where the...
Over here,
Over where?
by the sign.
All right.
John Bauer, I'm here with Charged Hong Kong, which is Hong Kong's charity representing EVs. Again, thank you for coming. Specific question about autopilot. One of the most successful campaigns online for in the last couple of years was for Blend Tech. I don't know if you saw that one. Can you blend it? They're simple demonstrations of the technology. I've been sort of waiting with bated breath to see a cascade of good news about autopilot and the situations it's saved. And all we've seen has been the disaster movies. Is there something to share? Or because for every bad news, we need 5 times more good news to balance it psychologically. Is there anything that Tesla could be sharing?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of sort of interventions that occur that we're aware of, but we haven't really asked customers if we could share their information.
I'm sure many of them would agree.
Actually, it's a good point. You know, we don't want to put any pressure, like no pressure. If you want to share it, yeah, maybe that if we can sort of ask people in kind of a really low pressure way.
Well, there was that one in Seattle, which is,
yeah.
has had, you know, each of us, I think, has had it on repeat playback for at least a week.
Yeah, there are many. I mean, there are thousands more. So that's a good idea. Maybe we should just ask.
That's the point. I mean,
yeah.
Whether they were case studies or if you could do aggregated statistics, and I'm sure I, for one, would volunteer if I was ever saved by my Model S.
Yeah, actually, the statistics, putting something out that I think is framed in a statistical way may be the right move. And I was just actually recently saw just a histogram of for example, the lane position for autopilot versus non-autopilot, and the probability distribution is much tighter if it's on autopilot than for if it's manual driving. And it's actually remarkable how much people vary in their lane if it's manual driving. Quite a lot, actually. So I think maybe releasing that would be a good idea, just to show, like, look, it's actually a tighter position distribution on autopilot than non-autopilot.
Well, what I can share on the record is that in the few short weeks that we had autopilot, I was arriving much more refreshed.
Yeah, it is a big workload reduction. I mean, in fact, the reason we called it autopilot was to have people think of it in the same way that people think of an airplane autopilot, which is not to say that the pilot can abdicate responsibility or go to sleep. That would be concerning. But rather that it's a workload reduction. So just it mentally makes it easier to fly the plane, and in the same way to drive the car with the auto steer function.
On a personal note, I did complete the police class 1 driving test a while back for safety, and I can absolutely say that it requires much less concentration, and I'm much more aware of the situation around me and much less stressed by traffic jams and so on. So I want it back.
We're doing our best. All right. I'll take one more question and then hand it over to John. Okay, right, sure. Far away. You really want to ask a question? Okay. Right. Sure. So just to repeat the comments, the preface was you have an uncle in Australia, a father-in-law, sorry, in Australia, and he likes it. He said, yeah. Okay, so he loves using autopilot in Australia. Yeah, and so your father-in-law thinks that autopilot is a better driver than he is. So that's a good compliment. And the question was, with respect to apps, will we when will we be able to download apps and whatnot into the Model S? I think as we've sort of thought about it more, the logical thing to do from an app standpoint is to maybe allow apps on your iPhone or Android to project onto the center display, as opposed to try to create a new app ecosystem. So that's probably going to be our focus in the future, is enable you to project apps from your phone onto the center screen. I think that seems like the logical move. All right. Well, once again, thanks everyone for coming, and I hope you have a great night. All right.
So if you've got more questions, we've got time to answer some of those. So, who has the next question? Or who would like to? Yeah, right back here.
I'm a proud owner of one of the first right-hand drives delivered here. Waited 2 years for it. Not only was it an excellent car, the service center and the post-delivery service was excellent, class leading for Hong Kong. But Tesla lately, you have to wait 3 to 4 months to make an appointment to get your car serviced. 3 to 6 weeks for minor parts, minor repairs. And if you should get in an accident, you have to go to the only place in town that takes months with outrageous pricing. How do we get back to class-leading service?
It's a great and very fair question. And quite frankly, that's the reason why I'm here, because the second part of my job title is service. And we have outgrown our space sort of months and months ago. And so Elon just mentioned we're in the process of building out over 100,000 square foot service and delivery center. And that capacity can't come online fast enough, quite frankly, because we need the space to do the work. And also we need to change the way we're doing work, which is something that we're gonna start that process in advance of the space being online. But it's a situation where demand for the car grew more quickly than we had forecasted. And so therefore cars in market grew more quickly than we had forecasted.